Hello again, Mr. B here. Let's continue our discussion of flowcharts. When last we left our intrepid hero, he was trying to make a sandwich, and you saw we used blocks such as something called start or um, add cheese. Okay. And regular rectangles indicate a particular task that we want the computer to do. It doesn't require any intervention from the user, any sort of interaction or anything. Not when it's in this form. Okay. Now, we might want to get more detailed, and as I was saying before, different people have different preferences. And if you want your program to be flexible enough for a wide variety of people to use, you want to be able to allow people to choose what kind of cheese they want on their sandwich, for example. And also you need to, once they choose it, you need to place that kind of cheese on their sandwich, right? You can't just say, what kind of cheese do you want? They say mozzarella, and you just put cheddar on it, just because you always do with cheddar. So for that, we have different kinds of notations in flowcharts. And so when we ask for an input from the user, so we ask the user to give our application some information, we use a trapezoid. I'm sorry, a parallelogram. It's kind of a rectangle that's been, the top part of it got shifted to the right, so the two upward brackets got tilted. Okay, this is called a parallelogram because it's a four-sided shape where the two longer sides are parallel and the two shorter sides are parallel, but they're not square. The angles are not square. And we can say can ask maybe type of cheese. That's what we can ask the user. Okay? And then the next thing that we can do, so once we get the kind of cheese, now we ask, I'm going to draw this next part over here. Okay? If you run out of room, you can always just go to the right. Now, to make a decision of where we're going to go from here, we use a diamond shape. Okay? So we're going to say cheese type. And we put that in a diamond shape. Okay? Now, usually the top corner is where we came from, right? So from when we ask the type of cheese, now we go to deciding what we're going to do depending on what type of cheese they ask for. And we can use any of the other three corners to go out from there. Okay, so we could actually, our program path can actually go out of any of these corners. Now, which corner we go to depends on what type of cheese they ask for. So let's say we're going to go this way for now. Say if it was cheddar. So you draw an arrow going out of one of the corners of your diamond, and on top of the arrow or just below it, you write what the value of your choice was. What was your choice? Cheddar. Okay. So I'm going to do this way. And so if they ask cheddar, what do? We add cheddar. Now I'm not going to get silly and say, okay, how many slices of cheddar? Do they want a thick slice, thin slice? We're not going to get into that much detail. Let's just say it's like Subway. You ask for something and they give you the same thing. Now adding the cheddar is an actual task that we don't ask for any other inputs inside there, so it's just a regular rectangle. Okay. What if they wanted American instead? Well, then we add American. Okay. Now I have two possible choices. So either we added cheddar or we add American. Great. Now we have two paths we need to follow. What are we going to do next? Well, say in our if you remember from the previous lecture, maybe it was add condiments or something, right? So we know that the next step is add condiments. Okay? But we get there from either add cheddar or add American. That's okay. We can draw multiple arrows heading into the same block. That's perfectly fine. So we ask the user what kind of cheese they want. So this is a separate. This flowchart right here is a detailed version of this. It's not. You don't go from add cheese to type of cheese. Okay, it's just a detailed. This is inside add cheese. Okay. So we asked the user for a type of cheese. Depending on their answer, we added either cheddar or American. Then we're just going down to the next step to add condiments. So let me do an example with that as well. Slightly more involved example so you can have an idea. This will give me an opportunity to show you loops. In your programs, you don't always just flow all the way through, from top to bottom. Sometimes you actually do a loop. Like think about if you're gardening and you're planting seeds. You plant a seed, and then you have to plant another seed because you're planting, dozens of seeds, or flowers. You go through the same steps over and over and over. So in your computer program, you don't need to write out all the steps over and over and over. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. You just write the step once, and then you write, there's a certain syntax for doing this. You tell the program, here's the whole sequence of steps I want you to do. Now do it, say, 20 times. I want you to do it over and over and over 20 times. And it can do that. And we can represent that in flowcharting. So now let's talk about adding condiments. Okay. So usually what do they add first? They add lettuce. So we ask, in this particular case, I'm going to skip the asking block because I think sometimes we can just do it directly in the diamond. So we'll just ask, are we going to add lettuce? Okay. So I'm basically combining the asking of the user and the decision making all in one block. Okay. So lettuce. If yes, then we'll add lettuce. Okay. Oh, okay. We're going to discuss loops later. Let me just show you this real quick. If it's no, we skip that step, and maybe we'll ask ourselves, olives? Now, what happens from add lettuce? Whether we add lettuce or not, we're still going to ask them if they want olives. So if we added lettuce, then we need to come back to our main path here. You see that? So now we can ask for olives. Again, if it's yes, add olives. If it's no, we don't. And we move on to the next step. See how that works?